Hello YouTube, let's continue with our MySQL tutorials. So before getting into actual commands, if this font is too small, what you can do is just go right click here on a white line to properties, and then for example you can set a couple of things here in a font, a sub window or something. For example, I will just go to 24, and I think that will be relatively decent for a lot of you guys out there. Okay, so I think that's kind of cool. Now let's log in first, of course, my extra secure password, and we are in. So see this, commands end with semicolon or G. That basically means that you can use /G, but honestly I don't know any person who uses /G. Okay, majority of persons just will end up with their commands to MySQL server down there with semicolon, and my advice is just to use that. Okay, so show databases with semicolon will yield you the same result as show databases with /G. Okay, just stick with this because it's kind of simple, right? So it is nice to know a little bit of theory behind these four default databases that you have with your default system installation. So you don't need to know a lot. I mean, when you're developing your application or website, just a little bit, to understand what these names means, because in actual creation of your databases and tables, you will not use these directly. So couple of theoretical stuff we need to know. So let's start with information schema. And where is my browser? Right. So this is of course official documentation. Always use official documentation, and we can go to this link. And what we have is that this thing, information schema, is information about the MySQL server, such as the name of a database or a table, the data type of a column, or access privileges. And that is pretty much what you need to know. Okay, you don't need to go here and learn these things, because this is documentation. If you need it, you have it right here. So that's about information schema, like a typical classical stuff, name of a database or table, and some kind of database metadata. Right. So next thing, this sys here, what is that? Well, where is it? Where is my documentation? Okay, sys schema means, and that is a set of objects. And when I say object, think about something abstract here, something that will be used by database administrators and some developers. Okay, some developers, like low-level developers, and they will use it to interpret data collected by the performance schema. So in database, everything is interconnected and dependent on each other. So basically, performance schema is, let me find that line, is a feature for monitoring MySQL server execution at a low level. And then you have piles and piles of the documentation down there. Now, just remember that understanding generally what these four databases means is enough. If you're creating some kind of financial application and some website, you don't need to know in detail these things. Just this is important for system administrators, database administrators, and low-level developers. Okay, they need to know this stuff. You don't have to, because we are just dealing with high-level stuff like graphical user interfaces and website and Bootstrap 4 and JavaScript and so on and so on. Now, MySQL, what that means, why is that important, what kind of database that is. I mean, let's actually go there and then you will see for yourself. So here's the question. When you wanna issue some command to MySQL, like a management system here, can you just do that on one line, like give me something from that table, from this database? Well, no, you cannot do that. You must position yourself into that database. So what is the analogy here? If you have a little bit of experience with DOS, or DOS simulation, whatever you want to call it, so it's similar. see, we are into user directory, and when I type dir, I will get list of stuff in that directory. But if I want to go here, I need to position myself there. So cd ... and then I will be into this primary directory. And if I want to go one level back, I will say cd ... and then I'm into root. So same thing here in MySQL databases. You need to first get there. Okay, so let's get in MySQL database, and then we can grab specific things from specific tables. So how to do that? You will say use name of database, lowercase, because that's the name of database. Don't forget semicolon, and database changed. So every time when you need to grab something from other database, you need to explicitly type that here. Okay, now you will probably say, what is the command to extract all tables from MySQL database? This one in this case, and that is show uppercase, okay, tables, because that's what we need. That's the only thing that is inside of databases. Like in that first video, I was mentioning the folders and some Excel files in those folders. Well, you will have only tables in your database. That's how you structure your stuff. Okay, so show tables from where? From MySQL, lowercase, because that's actual name, and then semicolon, and we have a list of tables. Okay, see, tables in MySQL. These are not images, not text, actual tables, like files in folder, right? So think about this border like this is some folder, okay, and then these are like files, right? So I mentioned that what are those 4 default databases. So you can get overall picture by checking a couple of names here, couple of tables, like for example password history. So this is like a configuration setup for overall system. Okay, for example, configuration, time zone, and stuff about specific users and so on. Okay, now default roles when you have different users and so on. So here's the thing, you are interested in, for example, this one specific table, and the question is how to get overall knowledge about structure of that table, meaning you don't need actual data from it like rows, but you wanna get to know that table better, in a sense that you are interested in data types. I mean, what is inside of columns. Okay, so the thing is that you need to say describe that table user, and then you will type semicolon, don't forget that, and you'll have a pile of results. So I obviously need to check my font here, 20. Let me see. Yeah, that's cool. We have a nice report that looks like those old matrix reports from banks on a paper with white and green lines and so on. So yeah, this is basically the structure of your table, and that is exactly what you're going to create in one of the next tutorials. Okay, these things vertical are columns, and in columns you have data types. For example, field, just the textual explanations, type, what kind of character you can put right here, like a bunch of characters. Enum, that means that you can only type here yes or no. Pre just means is it primary key. So primary key basically means that every row in a table need to be individual one. Like you cannot have multiple rows with the same number, like 1 2 2 2 3 4 5. Okay, 1 2 3 4 5, that's the way to go. Always +1 +1 +1. Okay, and you can always have, for some reason, one extra column to describe something. you know, but don't have too much of them, because that means that you didn't put on a paper the actual structure of your table or even your whole database. So where I was, let me think. Yeah, so let's just repeat a couple of these things that you need to absolutely know. Okay, these are essentials, right? So show databases, to list all databases, uppercase, there you go. Use one database, specific one, like in a DOS analogy, use MySQL, don't forget semicolon. Now we are in. So show tables, from where? From MySQL, don't forget semicolon, there you go. Let's describe the overall picture of specific table, because these are tables. Describe user in this case, semicolon, there you go. You can also use any other table, so you don't need to position yourself into table. You're already in database, okay? So you can also say describe, I think time zone is the name of table, and there you go, okay, with the columns and with only 2 rows. So I think this is enough. You can even write these commands on piece of paper, but don't worry too much, because you will remember these things over time. It will, you know, trust me, it will become your second nature. You will not even think about that after a couple of hours or days messing around with MySQL server. So anyway, I'm gonna shut up and see you next tutorial.